Welcome back, friends. I'm Miss Shakita, and this is Miss Sherry. We're going to learn about a new group of animals today. But first, let's review what we learned in the previous lesson. Do you remember the name of the group of animals we studied in the last lesson? You're right, amphibians. So now, what is unique about amphibians? I want you all to think about that for a minute. That's true. They live in two different worlds during their lifetime. Also, most amphibians reproduce by laying eggs in water and have slimy skin that helps them breathe.
Hi, boys and girls. Let's look at the two images on this slide. How are these animals alike? That's right. They both have 4 legs, their body shape is similar, and they have tails. What do you notice about their differences? Great job. They are different colors, and their skin coverings are not the same. The salamander on the left looks like its skin is wet. Do you remember if salamanders and lizards belong to the same animal group? That's right, they don't. Today, we will learn how taxonomists use characteristics to classify salamanders and lizards differently. Those are scientists that specialize in naming and classifying living things.
Oh, that sounds so interesting, Miss Sherry. I can't wait to learn more about animals. But first, let's review some vocabulary we will hear in today's story.
Great idea, Miss Shakita. Let's read through these slides to learn our vocabulary for this lesson. The first word is aggressive. Let's say that together. Aggressive. Aggressive is when something acts in a forceful or overbearing way. Miss Shakita, can you think of a sentence using the word aggressive?
Sure. The soccer goalie made such an aggressive throw from the goal line that the ball almost reached the goal on the other side of the field.
Wow, that was a great sentence. Boys and girls, can you think of a sentence using the word aggressive? Good job. Our next word is calcified. Repeat the word with me. Calcified. Calcified means that something has hardened, especially by deposits of minerals called calcium salts. Ms. Shakita, can you tell us a sentence with the word calcified?
Well, we don't see that word every day, do we? I've got a sentence though. The archaeologist dug up a calcified shell that had been buried in the soil for thousands of years.
Oh. That's a good sentence, Ms. Shakita. Thank you. Class, can you make a sentence with the word calcified? Great. Okay, so our next word is domed. Say that with me. Domed. Domed means rounded, like half of a sphere. Ms. Shakita, can you make a sentence using the word domed?
Definitely. The dome ceiling of the planetarium gave us the feeling of looking up at the sky at night. How was that?
Perfect. I remember hiking to a place called Half Dome, and it was domed or rounded, just like the top of the building in that picture. Can you think of a sentence with the word domed, boys and girls at home? That was wonderful. Our next word is effectively. Can you say that word with me? Effectively. Great. Effectively means fully fit to accomplish something successfully. Can you give us a sentence, Miss Shakita?
I sure can. In order for Wanda to tie her shoes effectively, she needed to pull the hair back that was hanging down in front of her eyes.
That's a good sentence. Boys and girls, can you think of a sentence using the word effectively? Great job. Our next word is membranes. Repeat that word with me. Membranes. Membranes are the thin, flexible tissues that serve as a protective lining or covering. Ms. Shakita, can you help us out again with a sentence?
I sure can. The membranes of the eggs got all scrambled up with the yolks and egg whites when Kai began making batter for pancakes on Sunday morning.
Wow, that was great. It sounds good too. Boys and girls, can you think of a sentence with the word membranes? Fantastic. Okay, so our next word is sensitive. Can you say the word sensitive with me? Sensitive. Sensitive means that you are able to feel something very quickly or intensely. Ms. Shakita, do you have a sentence with the word sensitive?
Here's one. Because a reptile's skin is so sensitive to temperature, it will become hot or cold very quickly if it sits in the shade or in the sun.
That's a good sentence. You sure are good at making sentences, Ms. Shakita. Class, can you use the word sensitive in the sentence? Great. Okay, our last word is venomous. Repeat that word with me. Venomous. Venomous means to make or have poisonous fluid. Ms. Shakita, can you think of a sentence with the word venomous?
Sure can. The nurse could see right away from the many scratch-like teeth marks that the snake that had bitten Kenya was not venomous.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Shakita. Boys and girls, did you think of a sentence with the word venomous? That's wonderful. Now we are ready to listen to the read aloud. I want you to listen carefully to the read aloud for the characteristics that taxonomists use to classify salamanders and lizards differently. I'm going to show you some slides while our friend, Miss Candy, reads to help you make some mental pictures.
Hello, boys and girls. As you can see, Anaconda is our starting place for today's lesson. She is a green anaconda, one of the largest snakes in the world. When she unwinds, she is about as long as 6 of you stretched head to toe across the room, and she weighs about 500 pounds. That's more than about 8 of you put together. Let's say the name together of the kind of snake that Anna is. Anaconda. Anaconda belongs to a group of animals that shares a lot of the same characteristics as the amphibians you learned about last time. Who knows the name of the group used by taxonomists to classify snakes? Yes, snakes are reptiles. Reptiles include crocodiles, alligators, lizards, turtles, and tortoises. But right now, I want to focus on one reptile only, Anna. It's no secret that she has a very high opinion of herself. She was quite fond of telling me so when I visited Peru. She thinks she's rather pretty, and I quite agree. In spite of her heavy body, Anna is a very good swimmer. Unlike some of her reptilian relatives, she is an aquatic snake, preferring swamps and rivers to the land. Snakes often have a bad reputation. Some snakes are poisonous, releasing poisonous liquid called venom when they bite. Anna's teeth are actually quite small, and she is not venomous, so you need not worry about that. However, some people fear anacondas because they are members of a family of snakes called constrictors. Does anyone know what that means? Constrictors catch and kill their prey by coiling or wrapping around the prey and squeezing them very tightly. Anaconda's jaws open so wide that they can swallow animals whole. Fish, caiman, even jaguars and small deer. The anaconda's powerful muscles crush the bones of its prey as it constricts. Once swallowed, the anaconda slowly digests its meal. Uh-oh, some of you look fearful. Don't worry, you're safe. Anacondas don't live where you live in North America. You'll find them far, far away on the continent of South America. That's where I met Anna. Anna was sure to tell me that as far as she knows, there is no documented record of an anaconda ever killing a man, woman, or child. She and all anacondas are nocturnal animals, and they hunt at night, eating frogs, toads, birds, fish, and turtles. She doesn't have to hunt very often because one animal will satisfy her appetite for a long time. Well, that's a lot of information about Anna's characteristics, the way by which scientists classify her as belonging to the animal class called reptiles, or reptilia. Anna and other reptiles share some common characteristics with amphibians. Many scientists believe reptiles evolved from amphibians. Reptiles are all vertebrates because they have backbones, and they are all cold-blooded because their internal temperature changes with their surroundings. Most reptiles can adjust their body temperatures by basking in the sun to stay warm or by hiding under a rock to stay cool. Just like amphibians, reptiles live on land and in water. However, these two groups do, of course, have their differences. Amphibians depend upon water to stay alive much more so than reptiles. Amphibians' thin, wet, slimy skin needs moisture to absorb oxygen from the air, but reptile skin is waterproof. Unlike toads and salamanders, Anna and other reptiles do not breathe through their skin, which is hard, dry, and scaly. They use only their lungs to breathe air, which means they are able to withstand very harsh, dry weather conditions under which amphibians would not be able to survive. Of course, because they have lungs, this also means that reptiles cannot stay underwater very long without coming to the surface to breathe. Amphibians usually spend part of their lives entirely in water, but this is not true of reptiles as a group. Whereas amphibians begin life with gills, reptiles are born with lungs and are never dependent upon gills for breathing. Remember how different baby tadpoles look from adult toads? This is not the case for reptiles. Baby reptiles usually look a lot like their parents. They do not undergo metamorphosis the way that amphibians do. Let's take a look at some of the animals that belong to the animal group classified as reptiles. These include lizards, geckos, iguanas, and chameleons. Unlike snakes, most lizards have 4 legs. Chameleons have a keen sense of sight and very long tongues. Their brilliant colors, all shades of pink, blue, red, orange, turquoise, and green, help them camouflage when they come face to face with their enemies. Earth's largest living lizard is the Komodo dragon. It can grow to be 10 feet long and may weigh as much as 150 pounds. These giant or island carnivores eat animals as large as goats, pigs, and deer. Saltwater crocodiles are the largest reptiles on Earth, some weighing up to 1 ton. Looking like very large lizards, crocodiles make their homes in tropical climates and are often seen floating like logs in the water with only their nostrils, eyes, and ears showing. Like Anna, they are nocturnal hunters, hunting at night. Crocodiles have the most powerful bite in the entire animal kingdom and are fierce hunters, living off fish and small mammals. Some live to be more than 100 years old. Alligators resemble crocodiles, but they are usually less aggressive or boldly forceful and live in freshwater habitats. Can you tell the difference between an alligator and a crocodile? Alligators usually have a wide, rounded, U-shaped snout, and crocodiles tend to have longer, more pointed, V-shaped noses. Look at all of these reptiles side by side: chameleons, Komodo dragons, crocodiles, and alligators. What do you notice about their skin? Is it rough or smooth? Does it look thick or thin? Remember when I mentioned that reptile skin is waterproof and that it is hard, thick, and scaly? Their type of scaly skin protects them from overheating, and because their skin is waterproof, it keeps water inside their bodies. Because reptile skin is very sensitive to or easily affected by temperature, it becomes hot or cold very quickly when exposed to sun or shade. Like many amphibians, some reptiles shed their skin. Many lizards and snakes shed their skin several times a year as they grow. Snakes do not eat their shed skin the way amphibians do. Turtles and tortoises are the only reptiles with bony shells as part of their skeletons. Their backbones are actually fused to their shells. These shells may be flat or domed. Turtles have softer shells, so they can swim faster, but land-dwelling tortoises need hard, leathery shells to protect them from predators. Their legs vary in appearance, depending upon where they live as well. Sea turtles have oar-shaped flippers for moving through water effectively. Many turtles have claws which help them dig, and pond turtles also have webs between their claws to effectively maneuver or move through the water. Land tortoises, like the giant Galapagos, have huge column-shaped legs with claws. These claws help them dig into the ground and move across it. Some turtle species live for more than a century. That's a very long time indeed. Who can tell me how many years are in a century? That's right, 100 years. Body coverings are an important difference between amphibians and reptiles. Another thing that sets the two groups apart is their eggs. Remember the slide that showed strands of thousands of soft eggs that Tabitha Toad laid in the pond? Most reptiles lay far fewer eggs, and they lay their eggs in nests on land. Membranes, soft outer coverings that provide protection and also help to hold in necessary water for eggs to grow, usually coat the inside of reptilian eggs. In most reptile species, the eggs are also covered in leathery, calcified shells. A few snakes and lizards give birth to fully formed live young instead of laying eggs. The garter snake, a snake that is right here in North America, is one of these exceptions to the rule. So is the Solomon Island skink, a lizard whose habitat is near the continent of Australia. Like amphibians, reptiles live all over the world. They prefer hot, low areas like rainforests, prairies, deserts, and oceans, but they can be found everywhere, except near the cold South Pole. If you are as fascinated as I am with reptiles and amphibians, you may want to think about becoming a herpetologist. Yes, indeed. Herpetologist is the name given to a scientist who specializes in herpetology, the study of certain crawling animals, specifically reptiles and amphibians. With more than 5,600 species of lizards alone, that should keep you busy for a lifetime. You have seen and learned a lot about fish, amphibians, and reptiles. But there are still two major groups of vertebrates for you to learn more about. Who remembers what they are? That's right, birds and mammals. Next time, I will be back to tell you all about Ebenezer egret. Get ready to feast your eyes on a stunning variety of Ebenezer's feathered friends. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for reading, Miss Candy. That was a lot of great information about reptiles. Now, let's answer some questions about what we heard. What are the characteristics of a lizard that classify it as a reptile? Miss Shakita, can you help us out?
Of course I can. The young are born looking like their parents, have hard, thick, scaly skin, lay eggs and nest on land, and breathe through their lungs.
A great answer. You are really listening. Boys and girls, how is this different from a salamander, which is an amphibian? What do you think, Miss Shakita?
Well, salamanders are born as tadpoles, are amphibians that first breathe through gills and then later through lungs and skin, have moist slimy skin, and they lay eggs in water.
Oh. Great job. Here's another question. What kind of reptile is Anna? Miss Shakita, do you remember?
Of course, I remember that from the read aloud. Anna is an anaconda.
Way to go. Our next question is, what did Rattenborough mean when he told us that the anacondas are not venomous? Miss Shakita, can you help us out?
Yes. Basically, he meant that they're not poisonous.
Great job. In the read aloud today, you learned that reptiles have hard, scaly skin. How is this waterproof, scaly skin helpful to reptiles? Miss Shakita, can you tell us?
I think so. It keeps water in, keeps them from overheating, and it protects them.
Exactly right. Here's one last question. What are the major characteristics that represent animals in the group called reptiles? Miss Shakita, I bet you've got a great way to answer this one.
Well, I might. Reptiles are cold-blooded vertebrates covered in scales or bony plates, usually lay eggs, and they have lungs.
That was a great answer. Let's make sure that all of that information's on our chart.
Oh, yeah.
I think we've got it. Looks like we've got everything that you've mentioned. All right, we sure have learned a lot about reptiles. That brings us to the end of our lesson today. Thanks, friends, for being such great listeners. I bet a lot of you will be herpetologists one day.
Oh yes. Again, thanks for joining us today. Be sure to share what you've learned with your family and friends at home. All rights and credits for today's lesson belongs to the Core Knowledge Language Arts. We would like to publicly thank them for sharing these valuable resources. The views and opinions expressed in today's lesson are those of the Core Knowledge authors and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the Mississippi Department of Education. Bye, friends.